Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. We are continuing our summer series, which features our amazing CE speakers that are going to be joining us at this year's convention, September 15 to 17 in Cleveland, Ohio. We hope to see you all there. And these next couple of episodes are just going to shine the light on our speakers, who they are, what you can expect for them, and help you get to know them a little bit better. So we hope you find these series enjoyable. I would like to welcome today's special guest, who is no stranger to Ohio Realtors. And I was thinking before we started the show today, I'm like, I can't believe I haven't had him on the show before. But there is no better time than now to be welcoming him onto the show. Chris Hall, Ohio Realtors past president 2014. Welcome onto the show. We are so happy to have you today.
Thanks, Allison. It's my pleasure, and it's good to get to spend some time with you today.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, I'll give a little introduction into Chris and who he is, and then we'll also have him, tell you a little bit more about himself and his background in real estate. But Chris is Vice President of Agent Services at the Danbury Company in Toledo, Ohio. His career in real estate has included sales, management, ownership, and leadership. His mission is helping people to make good decisions. Chris was the 2014 president of Ohio Realtors, the 2021 Vincent Tiameni Lifetime Achievement Award winner for outstanding service to the real estate profession, and recipient of the 2024 Philip R. Barnes RPAC Achievement Award. I mean, wow. Chris, welcome onto the show. So happy to have you, and thanks for all that you do for us.
Oh, thanks, Allison. I've been doing it a long time, and I love what I do. And that's why a lot of people my age have retired, and it's like, to what? I still think I have a lot to give. I've spent a lot of time at the association. I can't even tell you how long. It goes way back, but I enjoy it. I love, like, I got to see you down at the Realtors in the Rotunda. I love being around our people and learning and sharing what we have.
Well, we love seeing you, and thank you for all that you do for joining us at all of our events. It's always good to see you. You always got a big smile on your face. So it's always a pleasure to be able to be around you guys and to be talking to you, about everything that you have going on. But before we get started in talking about what you have planned for us at convention this year, I want to know a little bit more about you. I know I mentioned just some of your involvement here at Ohio Realtors and what you've been able to accomplish, but tell us about how you got started in real estate and what your career path has been like.
Yeah, that'd be great. I actually went to the University of Toledo right out of high school. And at that time, when I had graduated, I had a minor in psychology, major in communications, and I was looking at kind of like an industrial relations type job. The jobs were not near where I wanted to live in Toledo. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was looking around, and my uncle, who had his own real estate company, reached out to me as a 23-year-old that looked 17 and brought me into real estate. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It was 1979, believe it or not. And I started with him, and I ended up becoming an assistant manager after like 5 or 6 years. And my father was a builder, so I've grown up in the real estate business. And then, unfortunately, my uncle got cancer at a young age and passed away at 52. And I ended up buying his company, which I then ran. We were actually a Coldwell Banker franchise at that time. And Coldwell Banker came to us and said, we want to merge you with several other companies, which we did. And then they came a few years later, said we wanted to actually merge you in with a company to sell you. And I realized I wasn't a fan of having partners. So I went ahead with the sale, and turned out to be a little bittersweet because the guy closed it down in like 8 or 9 months back in 2000. He was a crook, took us down.
Ugh.
But that led me to, at that point, I just said, I don't want to be moving around again. Who can I align myself with that I can be with for the rest of my career? So I interviewed several companies and ended up with the Danbury Company, and I've been there since 2001.
Amazing. And it sounds like you found such a good home with them, and like you said, been with them since 2011 and have done some very cool things. So it's funny. I always like listening to people's stories of how they got started in real estate, because like it's always different. And like you said,
Uh-huh.
like you had no idea what you were getting into, and have been able just to make a fantastic career, with it. So congratulations on that. As we mentioned, you're very involved in this industry, volunteering, giving back, leadership. Talk to us a little bit about why being involved is so important to you, and what you want people to know about volunteer leadership.
I got involved. The executive officer of the Toledo Board of Realtors at that time saw me in some leadership qualifications, and I ran the Toledo Board back in 2004. And at that point, you automatically were a director at Ohio Realtors. I do think I was going there before then. I'm almost positive, but I became more involved. And you look at the people that are up there doing all these things, and you want to be a part of that. So I watched, I listened, and at some point, I can't remember who exactly, but somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You need to take the next," which was in 2011, and I did that. Kind of a cool side story to that. That was the convention that year, September 11th, 2011. I was campaigning to become treasurer, and while at the pre-party, I was tapped on the shoulder by this blue-eyed brunette that dragged me up on the dance floor and became my partner for the last 14 years, Jennifer Wiles. So it was, I got way more out of this than the realtor accolades. So I really enjoyed it. And then the other part of that to follow up is that you then can see people you think should be taking that next step and lead them and tap them on the shoulder and help them and be a resource for them. And that's really cool to see the people that have followed in our footsteps.
That's awesome. And you have been such a great example, to bring along, and your commitment to staying involved, to making sure the association's in good hands, to be bringing along, that next generation, does not go unnoticed. And we really appreciate, everything that you do for us. And, you mentioned that convention, right? September 11th,
Mhm.
2001. Talk to us about your experience, when you all were there, because I have heard stories. I was not, at Ohio Realtors at the time. And talk to us about being at that convention on September 11th, when you got that news, and what that experience was like. I've heard some stories, but I would love to hear kind of your perspective on what that was like, and what being at convention during this, major historical moment was like.
Yeah, it was surreal. We were in Cincinnati that year, and Terry Hankner was the president. And we were there, and I remember sitting in a CE class, and one of the owners of the Danbury Company at that time was sitting next to me, and he said, "Hey, I see there was a plane flew into one of the Twin Towers." And I said, "Oh my gosh!" At that point, nobody knew what anything was.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple minutes later, he said another one, and quite honestly, I thought he was joking, and I quite honestly didn't think it was very funny. But then, come to find out, then the speaker, and I drawing a blank at her name, stopped the class and said her son or daughter works in the Pentagon, and the class stopped right then, and we all went back to our hotel rooms, and the news then wasn't what the news is now, or social media for that matter. So we were getting bits and pieces, and we're sitting in a high rise in Cincinnati, and one of the planes was supposedly heading to Cleveland. That's the one that turned around. I think it was Flight 82.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was just a lot going on, and the Toledo board, as actually past President John Mangus had a suite there that everybody went to, and we all just were bouncing off things, watching the news, and just taking it all in, and then driving home very silently. The next day, it was surreal.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I can only imagine. But at the same time, you were able to be, with your realtor family, with people, who you love, and hopefully that made it a little bit better, just being around that community and having each other to lean on, during that time. I can only imagine. And I've heard stories too, but yeah, let's hope for none of that moving
Yeah.
forward. No crazy moments at OR conventions.
No, you made the point about your realtor family, and that is so true. When you get involved at Ohio Realtors, well, at your local association, and then at Ohio Realtors, to the level that I did, and a lot of others have, they truly, truly are family. And when you see them, that's why you see a big smile on my face, because I love to go up and give my friends hugs, and hang out with a guy who's become like a brother to me, Greg Rabchak, and Pete Koff, who's like a son. So it's really, really cool.
This episode of The Real View is brought to you by the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Ohio's network of community colleges provides accessible training that accommodates the busy lifestyles of aspiring real estate professionals at half the price of a traditional university. With convenient locations in every part of the state, as well as online options, Ohio's community colleges are your smart choice for pre-licensing education. For more details or to start the journey to a real estate career, visit the education page at ohiorealtors.org and then click on the pre-license course locations. Yeah, it really is. And that's one of the amazing things about convention. And you mentioned the Realtors at the Rotunda Day, which is another one of the events we offer throughout the year at Ohio Realtors. But so much of that can happen during these events, and especially during convention. Is that one of the things that you love about going to conventions, or what do you enjoy about being there, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, it's funny, and everybody. So if you're a first-time attendee, go to something that you're attracted to. Like for me, it was always the legal stuff. I wasn't really interested in the legislative stuff when I started, and then it just slowly seeps into you. And as a RPAC Hall of Fame member, obviously I did get involved, but it draws you in. Go for what you're interested in, and then just keep an ear. There's some things I'm still not interested in, but there's so much to see, so many different directions to go. And you'll find out that the instructors, the leadership at Ohio Realtors, past leadership and current, are very accessible. And they love it when you come up in the hallway and ask them a question or introduce yourself. I'm so and so from Northwest Ohio or whatever. They love that the interaction is always there and available.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. I always like asking people, what do you like about convention? But yeah, you're right. It's a great time. And, as you mentioned, if you want to get involved, if you want to be with the people that are making the decisions, that's a great time to do it. Introduce yourself. Like you said, there's so many opportunities to be talking to the people who, are moving and shaping the industry. And it's really a great opportunity to do that. There's so many networking opportunities, especially in the evening. And our leadership's just there hanging out. And as you mentioned,
Yeah.
they love to be, they love to mingle with everyone, to say hello, to meet you. It's such a great opportunity. If you're interested in getting involved in leadership or what that would even look like, I mean, that's a great time to talk to not only our leadership, but, people like you, Chris, who've been through it, who've been around, who know what that looks like and how to get involved and the importance of it. And it's really a great opportunity outside from the CE and all the great things that you're going to get, which you're helping us out with this year.
Yeah.
Tell us about you. How did you become interested in teaching, and what's kind of your approach to your courses and what you offer?
Well, because I left out at the beginning, I actually managed offices for a year. I actually managed two offices at one time for probably 8 or 10 years for Danbury. And I've always been kind of like a teacher. I've always wanted my agents and realtors to not make the mistakes that others are. So, just being aware, not afraid, but being aware of what's out there. So I've always been kind of a teacher. And then as I got closer to stepping down from management and going into the agent services part, I have taught ethics for years, and then I did new agent training for Danbury, and I just always have enjoyed it. And then this class presented itself by one of our agent services VPs as well, Dana Nairn, who made up this class, and her and I both have taught it on and off. And she's an amazing person and made this class what it is. And I've kind of fine-tuned it to also not talk about just communicating, but working with people from different generations, and also working with realtors, because there can be some friction there between the generations as well.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a really great course. And it's called Communicating Across the Generations, Tuesday, September 16th. 2 to 3 p.m. For some CE credit. Make sure you guys circle it on your schedules as you're preparing what you're going to attend at this convention. As Chris mentioned, it's so important right now. And in reading the description of your course, you mentioned that there's 5 generations in some instances that you're going to have to be interacting with and learning how to work with. I mean, you're going to tell us all during your course, so I don't want to give away too much, but I mean, where do you even start with that? Like 5 generations, like that seems like so much, and so many different changes between each generation. I mean, it's such an interesting and fascinating topic. I mean, where are you even going to start for us?
Well, and the funny part is that I'm sitting here looking at my notes, and I've got 6, because the greatest generation, which is the 1901 to 1927, obviously most agents aren't going to have dealt with that. But being licensed for 46 years, I've dealt with every generation, including the greatest. And as I look back, when I got my license, that was 50, 52, 53-year-olds. So obviously I worked with them. And it's now, as I'm teaching this class and going back, it's coming back to me, all the differences between the generations and how they interact with each other, how they communicate with each other, how they work well, and what their struggles are in communicating. And what we hope to do in this class is to have people stop and think before they, when they start to work with somebody, just like you would qualify them for a mortgage or qualify what type of home they're looking for, where, how many bedrooms, whatnot. Also, sit down and talk to them about their communication style, what they prefer, not what you prefer. Because trust me, if it's a different generation, especially if it's a 2-generation jump one way or the other, it's a different animal. And we talk some examples that I won't give them away here, but we talk some examples of mistakes I've seen made by younger agents dealing with the older generations, because the older generation doesn't want to be texting all the time. They want to be called or face to face. So we talk about some of that.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into it and to learn a little bit more. And I'm sure you're going to talk about, the specific generations and what they're all like. I know even, just at Ohio Realtors here, I mean, my team is mostly Gen Z, and just even communicating with them, I'm like, whoa, this is like, it's noticeable, and it's something, you need to be aware of and think about as you're proceeding in your careers. I think it's so important that we're learning how to best talk to each other. And like you said, what one generation wants and needs is different than another. And just knowing that, being aware of that, and being able to kind of know that, work through that is critical, when we think about how we want to be working together moving forward. So it's so relevant and such a timely topic.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is most of the different subsets of generations don't realize that their communication is different, because it's innate. It's what they grew up with. So, but what you have to think of is that's not how boomers grew up with, or millennials or Gen X or whatever. There's different communication styles, and instead of getting get to the point where instead of getting frustrated, you stop and think, oh, this is just we're trying to do the same thing. We're just trying to get at it from different ways.
Yes, absolutely. And being able to acknowledge that and know how to work through that, I think is really important. And it's going to be so important, especially moving forward in the industry today, because I'm sure that the brokerages and offices, real estate offices nowadays, there's a lot of different generations, up to 6, right? We said that could be working together. And it's a very real thing, and knowing how to navigate that, I think, is going to be important, something everyone needs to know about.
Yeah, and I think my perspective, starting out as a kid in the business, and then, and then seeing the older, the greatest, and some of the silent generation around me, to becoming an experienced agent, then to become the expert, and then now as I'm, kind of winding my way out, dragging, tooth and nail, and then the funny thing is, like the owners, there's three owners of our company up here. My real estate license is older than all three of them.
Yeah.
So, dealing with that communication there as well.
And that's what I love about so many of our CE speakers this year is you guys aren't just preaching on something that you're not doing every day or that you've just, heard about or done. Like you are actually living and breathing this and can speak
Mhm.
from your own true experiences with being in the industry. You said 40 something years, you are speaking this from experience. And that's what I think is
Mhm.
really great. You're not just preaching on something you heard, you're able to preach and speak from actual situations and scenarios that you've been in, and guide people through that. And that's one of the beauties
Mhm.
about this convention is learning, from individuals like you who have the experience, who have the years under their belt to be able to say like, hey, here's what I've learned. Here's what not to do. Here's what to do. And you're speaking from experience. And I think that's really great.
Yep. And there's in those 46 years, I've seen the market go way up, way down. The year I started is the first time interest rates got into double digits, and people were panicking. And then it's funny, after all the nail biting over the last few years about interest rates, I went back and did researched a little bit and found out that the average interest rate over my 46-year career is 7%. So it's the average. We were spoiled these last few years.
So
So
spoiled.
yeah.
So spoiled. Are you seeing that mortgage rates kind of still being, a factor in what you're seeing in the market now? Or is there still kind of that yearning for what we experienced in COVID? What are you seeing with that? How is that
Well,
impacting right now?
it's funny, and that's actually part of the class too. So my real estate business, is just referral, past business and whatnot. And I have my little millennial partner, my partner Debbie, who we work together with. She
Mm-hmm.
does a lot of the technology, and I do the relationship as she does as well. But interestingly, the bulk of my business is, as you might guess, would be boomers, and
Mm-hmm.
boomers are the most highest percentage of cash buyers in our industry. So we're a little bit insulated, I guess you could say. But then again, my daughters are millennials, and they really struggle in the housing industry, trying to even afford something. My oldest daughter's in Denver. The average sale price is $1 million. How do they do that?
Yeah.
So that's a struggle.
It is. It is. And, something that, especially like you mentioned, affects each generation differently. And it sounds like, this is just another reason why to come see your course and not only to hear about how to work with different generations, but when you have different generations as clients,
Mhm.
what you're, as you said, boomers may be comfortable with may not work for millennials. And I think it's so
Mhm.
important to note those differences and to, learn ways and learn what to be prepared for as you work with people who are different. And I think that's really amazing. Anything you're looking forward to in Cleveland? I know that this year's convention is in Cleveland. We will be at the Hilton Hotel right downtown. Amazing views of Lake Erie. What are you looking forward to about being back in Cleveland?
Honestly, well, two things. I'm a diehard Cleveland, I'll say Indians fan.
Yes.
So I always love Cleveland. I love going there. It's also a very fun place to hang out with people. Lots of things are available. I love that Hilton. Love the views. You can see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from most windows. So there's just so much to do. Fourth Street, all the great restaurants. I'm looking so forward to it, and it's only like an hour and a half drive for us. Oh well, actually, probably an hour from Worcester, where I also live as well. So
Yeah, we love being in Cleveland. They are such amazing hosts, and yeah, great venue. So much to do, so much to see. Great culture, great food. Make sure to get out and enjoy it, and meet people like Chris. And I'm sure you're going to be hanging out, Chris. Anything, where can we expect to see you? You're going to be hanging out in some hallways and before your class and things like that.
I will, and I'll have my past present badge on probably. But yeah, feel free to step up and say hi and ask me any questions, or ask me, anything I can do to help with your next step in this industry. I would be happy to. And if I can't do it, I can point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you again so much for joining me. We can't wait to see you in Cleveland. Again, his session is Tuesday, September 16th, 2 to 3 p.m., communicating across the generations. Learn all that good stuff. Learn how you're going to be able to work and adapt with your coworkers. Such an important topic right now. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on, and I've enjoyed our conversation today.
Same here, Allison. Can't wait to see you in September, if not before.
Hopefully before, yes. And to all of you guys listening, thanks so much for tuning in. Register now for our convention. Chris will be there with us, as well as so many other amazing CE speakers. We've put together an incredible lineup for you guys. You can see it all at ohiorealtors.org/convention. See the schedule, bookmark your sessions you want to attend, see all the evening activities we have going on. It's going to be an amazing time. We can't wait to see you in Cleveland. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll be back with you soon.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.